News time is 7 minutes after 8 o'clock on this Friday. Thanks for being with us this morning from the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded local newscast, streaming to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. The Bloomington Area Career Center will expand its offerings. Clinton School Superintendent Kurt Nettles says the new HEAT program will give students even more opportunities that are already a great resource to Clinton students.
So Bloomington Area Career Center has existed for quite some time. I can't remember how many years it's been in place. When I became a superintendent in this region, ROE 17, back in 2007, the school district I was at, those kids belonged to BACC. Here at Clinton, the southern tip of ROE 17, our high school kids have the opportunity to go to BACC also. And that's all vocational classes. A few years ago, there was discussion about starting up another program called HEAT Academy, HEAT. So health-related studies, engineering, agriculture, and technology. So you have the acronym, HEAT. These would be programs kids could get into that are not taught. Just as an aside, when I became a teacher, I have a degree in history and government, and I really loved history and government. That's really what I wanted to teach. But back in those days, people got on those jobs and sat in them forever, and those were never open.
Okay.
I had enough hours at Eastern that they put on my teaching license I could do English. Okay. I was not an English teacher, but when I got hired, they found out I knew a little bit about baseball and stuff, so or basketball. So they said, well, we're going to hire this guy because he can help us coach. Oh, and by the way, we need you to teach English. I was not a good English teacher.
According to Nettles, the HEAT program will bring in a professional in the field of whatever the subject area may be and will lead the students. It would have several specific focuses.
The HEAT program is not classes to where you get somebody who's marginally certified to teach something. So something in one of those four areas, the ag, the tech, the engineering, we want to bring in business and industry professionals to stand before these kids and work with these kids and be the teacher who's in the field that actually does it. So we're trying to teach kids about technology, cybersecurity, how to program, how to do all kinds of things, how to market, engineering type things, ag related things, health. But we want to bring in like the health stuff. I think,
This will be an extension of the Bloomington Area Career Center. Nettles notes COVID interrupted the planning of this, but he remains excited still. There are a few hurdles to clear before it becomes a reality, but he believes it will be a great program once it is established. As the grilling season starts to kick into high gear, a University of Illinois Extension nutrition educator is reminding those dusting off the grill to keep food safety top of mind. On the WHOW Morning Show Thursday, Caitlin Mellendorf at the University of Illinois Extension in DeWitt, Macon, and Piatt counties told Regional Radio you want to make sure any meat you are cooking reaches its recommended internal temperature.
We have what are considered kind of higher risk groups. So young kids are considered a high-risk group. Their immune systems may not be able to fight off E. coli or salmonella or another type of foodborne illness. Seniors, their immune systems are just not as strong as they were when they were younger, so they may also have a hard time fighting off. Pregnant moms, and then any folks with chronic conditions. So maybe they have cancer and are undergoing treatment. Maybe they have HIV, where their immune systems are going to have kind of struggle to fight off any type of foodborne illness. So it's really important to pull out that thermometer to make sure that we're able to test. Color is not a great indicator of temperature.
Mellendorf directs the public to their revamped website, extension.illinois.edu/foods. She says there you'll find many resources for helpful cooking safety information as well as recipes. News anytime is at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Allergy season is here, and our Warner Hospital and Health Services walk-in clinic inside our family medicine is here to help. No appointment, no problem. Find out more by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
ServPro of Piatt DeWitt Counties is the leader in cleaning, restoration, and construction for fire and water restoration. Find out all the services they provide by clicking their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
It's time to think farm safety.
Any farm worker who wears contact lenses should remove them before working with farm chemicals and put on a full-face respirator or other eye protection. Anhydrous ammonia can get under a contact lens and cause serious damage in an instant.
This week and every week in 2023, think and practice safety first.
Proudly sponsored by First Mid, your ag partner for banking, insurance, and ag services.
With SRN Sports, I'm Michael Harrington. We'll start with NBA playoff action, and the Celtics have beat the Hawks in Game 6, go on to a second-round meeting with Philadelphia.
The Celtics finally advanced to the second round by rallying past the Hawks 128-120. Boston trailed before an 11-0 run that included 3 straight three-pointers. Jason Tatum hit one of the trays and capped the spurt with a dunk to put Boston ahead 121-113 with 2:07 remaining. Jaylen Brown led the Celtics with 32 points, while Tatum added 30. Al Horford provided 10 points, grabbed 12 boards, and hit a three-pointer that put Boston ahead to stay. Trae Young had a team-high 30 points for Atlanta, but shot just 1 for 13 in the second half. Boston takes on the 76ers beginning on Monday. I'm Dave Ferry.
Round 1 of the NFL draft last night, and quarterbacks dominated. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and Anthony Richardson, the top 4 picks. Carolina Panthers selected Young of Alabama with a number 1 pick overall, as many expected them to do. This is SRN Sports. In other NFL news, the Baltimore Ravens have agreed in principle with Lamar Jackson on a 5-year deal, making their star quarterback the highest paid player in NFL history after months of drama and a request for a trade by him. The Ravens and Jackson agreed on a $260 million 5-year deal. He gets $185 million in guaranteed money. National Hockey League playoff action yesterday. It was Tampa Bay over the Maple Leafs 4-2, Devils 4, Rangers nothing, and Vegas got the better of the Jets 4-1. In Major League Baseball, the Angels edged Oakland yesterday 8-7. Tampa Bay clobbered the White Sox 14-5. Orioles 7, Tigers 4. It was the Twins over Kansas City 7-1. Yankees beat Texas 4-2. In the National League, Pirates 6, Dodgers 2. Miami over the Braves 5-4. The Cubs stopped San Diego 5-2. Cardinals 6, Giants zip. This is SRN Sports.
Time now for a look at sports. I'm Seth Lawrence with this report. In a game heard on WEZC and online at DeWittDailyNews.com, Luke Teschke hit a game-ending 2-run home run and pitched 5 innings of 1-run ball as Monticello 10-runned Bloomington Central Catholic 11-1 in 5 innings Thursday from Monticello High School in Illini Prairie Conference baseball action. Teschke settled down after he gave up a run in the first inning, and the Sages sent 11 batters to the plate in the second to take control with a 6-run frame. Jacob Trusner finished 2 for 2 with a pair of doubles, a walk, and 3 RBIs, leading 9-1 with 1 out in the bottom of the 5th. Teschke sent a high drive over the left field fence, ending the game as the Sages went up by 10. He finished 2 for 3 at the plate with a walk. The Illinois State commit struck out 8 and retired 12 of the final 15 batters he faced. Teschke was the serve pro of Piatt DeWitt County player of the game. Jarrett Weidewilt was 2 for 3 with a stolen base and a run scored for BCC. Nick Martis singled in the only run for the Saints and finished 1 for 2 with a stolen base. The Saints fall to 8-8 overall and 3-4 in the Illini Prairie Conference. The Sages go to 14-4 overall and move to 6-1 in the Illini Prairie. A showdown with St. Joe Ogden is up next for Monticello on Monday. Hear the action on 95.9 FM WEZC and online at DeWittDailyNews.com starting at 4:30. The Mount Pulaski Hilltoppers mustered enough offense to withstand a late rally from Leroy in an 8-3 non-conference high school boys baseball victory Thursday afternoon in Mount Pulaski. Chance Payne paced the Hilltoppers, going 2 for 3 with a double and 3 RBIs. Clay Aylesworth, Jackson Fricky, and Landon Smith doubled for Mount Pulaski, while Evan Cooper, Liam Smith, Landon Smith, and Aylesworth drove in the other Hilltoppers runs. Landon Smith allowed a run on a hit, but walked 8 while striking out 9 in 5 2/3 innings for the win for Mount Pulaski. The Hilltoppers go to 18-2 overall. They host Cornerstone Calvary Christian Academy this afternoon in non-conference action before a noon game with Illini Bluffs on Saturday in Tomahawk Conference play. Emily York struck out 16 in a complete game shutout, leading Bloomington Central Catholic over Monticello 3-0 in Illini Prairie Conference high school girls softball action Thursday afternoon in Monticello. York permitted 3 hits and did not walk a batter. Reese Patton, Avery Schweitzer, and Lindsay Treebaum recorded the only hits for the Lady Sages. Schweitzer doubled. Reese Patton allowed 3 runs. 1 was earned over 7 innings. She walked 3 and struck out 2 while permitting 6 hits. The Lady Saints go to 13-10 overall and 6-1 in the Illini Prairie Conference. Monticello falls to 8-10 overall and 3-4 in the Illini Prairie. They return to action Monday, hosting St. Joseph Ogden. The Chicago Bears selected Tennessee offensive tackle Darnell Wright with the 10th overall pick in the NFL draft Thursday night, giving quarterback Justin Fields more protection after trading back a spot with Philadelphia. The Bears clearly had no intention of drafting Jalen Carter and allowed the Eagles to switch spots so they could take the Georgia star defensive tackle. Chicago also got a 4th-round pick in 2024. The 6'5", 330-pound Wright was the second offensive lineman drafted. Ohio State's Paris Johnson Jr. went to the Arizona Cardinals at number 6. The Tennessee Titans took Northwestern's Peter Sheronsky with the 11th pick. Wright played a big role in Tennessee, going 11-2 and finishing 6th in the AP poll. He delivered a memorable performance in containing Alabama edge rusher Will Anderson Jr. in a 52-49 win over the Crimson Tide and was a first-team All-SEC as a right tackle last season. He played left tackle in 2021. The Bears finished with the worst record in the league and set a franchise mark for losses while going 3-14 in their first season under Poles and coach Matt Eberflus. Their frustrated fans are feeling at least a little more optimistic after some big offensive moves. The Bears hired Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren as their new team president and closed on a 326-acre tract of land in suburban Arlington Heights, where they hoped to build an enclosed stadium. Poles pulled off a blockbuster trade for a playmaking receiver in March, acquiring DJ Moore from the quarterback-needing Carolina Panthers. The Bears moved down 8 spots and also got a haul of selections in return. Carolina, in turn, took Alabama's Bryce Young with the number 1 overall pick. Wright is the first offensive lineman drafted by the Bears in the first round since Kyle Long in 2013. He is also Poles' first opening round pick. The Bears did not have one in 2022 after former GM Ryan Pace dealt it to the New York Giants the previous year to move up for quarterback Justin Fields. Chicago's 2 most prominent additions in free agency were at linebacker, signing Buffalo 2-time Pro Bowler Tremaine Edmonds and former Eagle TJ Edwards. They still, though, have plenty of issues to address in this draft, including an edge rusher to boost a pass rush that finished in with a league-low 20 sacks, as well as a disruptor on the interior of the defensive line. They also needed to beef up the blocking to protect Fields after he was sacked 55 times and tied Denver's Russell Wilson for most in the NFL. The Bears came into the draft with 10 draft picks, including 2 second-rounders and their first pick in the 3rd round at number 64. They also have 2 picks each in the 4th, the 5th, and the 7th rounds. The Green Bay Packers' lack of pass rush depth was apparent when they struggled to get to opposing quarterbacks after Rashawn Gary tore his ACL last November, but they are confident Iowa edge rusher Luke Van Ness can help change that. Rather than getting a pass catcher for new starting quarterback Jordan Love in the opening round, the Packers selected Van Ness with the 13th overall pick in the NFL draft Thursday night. Van Ness was in Wisconsin when he got the news while watching the draft from Fontana, where his parents have a home. Green Bay began the week with the 15th overall pick in the draft, but they moved up 2 spots as part of a blockbuster trade that sent 4-time MVP quarterback Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets. That trade also brought the Packers a second-round selection and a 6th-round pick in this year's draft, plus a conditional 2024 second-round pick that could become a first-rounder if Rodgers plays 65% of the Jets' snaps this season. The Packers are sending a 5th-round pick in this year's draft to the Jets. Green Bay's pass rushing ability took a hit late last season without Gary, whose status for the start of the upcoming season still remains uncertain. Gary had 6 sacks in 9 games. Preston Smith had a team-high 8.5 sacks, and nobody else had more than 4 last season. Van Ness showed his explosiveness by getting a combined 13.5 sacks and 20 tackles for loss in 2 seasons at Iowa. He did all that without starting a single game for the Hawkeyes. Van Ness's versatility intrigued the Packers since he played both tackle and end for Iowa. GM Brian Gutekunst said the Packers could still use him as an edge rusher while also occasionally having him work inside after going 8-9 and missing the playoffs last season. To end a string of 3 straight playoff appearances, the Packers are entering a new post-Rodgers era with Love as their starting quarterback. But Love could use some weapons. Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs are the only Packers wideouts under contract who had at least 100 yards receiving in 2022. Josiah DeGuara and Tyler Davis, the top tight ends under contract, had a combined 17 catches for 140 yards, but it shouldn't come as a surprise. The Packers addressed defense instead in the first round. Green Bay hasn't selected a wide receiver in the first round since taking Florida State's Javon Walker 20th overall in 2002, and hasn't used a first-round pick on a tight end since selecting Miami's Bubba Franks at number 14 in 2000. The last offensive player Green Bay drafted in the first round was Love himself, who went 26th overall in 2020 when the Packers traded up 4 spots to get him. He was the first offensive player the Packers had taken in the opening round since Mississippi State tackled Derek Sherrod at 32 overall in 2011. The Packers have 3 of the top 45 overall selections in the draft, giving them plenty of opportunities to boost a roster that has more holes than usual since salary cap issues prevented them from being very active on the free agent market. In a game heard on WHOW, Isaac Paredes had a career-high 5 RBIs, and the Tampa Bay Rays handed the Chicago White Sox their 8th straight loss with a 14-5 victory Thursday night. Brandon Lowe homered, tripled, and drove in 3 for Tampa in the opener of a 4-game series. Lowe, Yandy Diaz, Luke Raley, and Josh Lowe each had 3 hits as the AL East leaders bounced back nicely after they were shut out in back-to-back games by Houston. The Rays have scored an MLB best 171 runs and launched 51 homers in their first 26 games. They collected 16 hits. Shane McClanahan pitched 5 innings of 2-run ball in the win. He struck out 5 and walked 2. Sox ace Dylan Cease was tagged for 7 runs. 6 were earned and 9 hits in 4+ innings. Jake Berger homered for Chicago and drove in 2. Lennon Sosa stopped Chicago's scoreless streak at 25 innings with an RBI double in the second. The Sox were shut out in their previous 2 games in Toronto. The Rays improved to 4-0 against the Sox. They swept them in a 3-game set in Florida last weekend. Tampa Bay ended its scoreless drought at 20 innings when it scored 3 runs in the second. Paredes singled in Brandon Lowe and scored on Rayleigh's 2-run double. Pedro Griffel was ejected in the 8th inning. He said he was contesting the time he had to make a challenge. White Sox shortstop Tim Anderson and infielder Hanser Alberto will join AAA Charlotte Wednesday for rehab assignments. Anderson, a 2-time All-Star and the 2019 AL batting champ, got hurt on April 10th at Minnesota. Yohan Moncada is dealing with a bulging disc in his lumbar spine that is impinging on nerves, causing pain in his hips and limiting his mobility. He hasn't appeared in a game since April 9th. Hahn said Moncada might be ready for a rehab assignment in the next couple of weeks. Eric Hosmer and Nelson Velasquez hit back-to-back homers, and Dansby Swanson added his first of the season to help the Cubs top the Padres 5-2 Thursday. Manny Machado homered for the Friars, who had won 5 of 7. Hayden Wesneski worked the first 5 innings for Chicago, which took the 3-game series after going 1-3 against the Dodgers last weekend. The right-hander allowed 4 hits, including Machado's solo shot in the second. He had 3 strikeouts and a walk. Hosmer and Velasquez gave the Cubs the lead for good with consecutive homers off Seth Lugo in the bottom of the second inning. Chicago heads to Miami tonight, sending Marcus Stroman to the mound opposite Jesus Luzardo for the Marlins. Alec Burleson and Paul DeYoung homered. Miles Michaelis went 6 1/3 innings, and the Cardinals beat the Giants 6-0 Thursday to avoid a 4-game sweep. Michaelis scattered 4 hits, 2 walks, struck out 6, and ended the Giants' 5-game winning streak. With 1 out in the top of the 7th, Burleson sent Logan Webb's 2-2 fastball over the right field wall to break a scoreless tie. Later in the inning, Tommy Edman legged out an infield single to second base to drive in another run. He initially was ruled out at first, but the call was overturned upon video review. Jack Flaherty, an LA native, returns home to begin a 3-game series against the Dodgers tonight. Flaherty has a 1.5 ERA in 3 career starts at Dodger Stadium. Get sports anytime from your computer or mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Home starts at First National Bank and Trust Company in Clinton. Whether it's buying your dream home, refinancing your existing loan, or exploring a home equity loan,